and the Board of Commissioners join us, the county manager and some county manager staff who will give us some updates there. So that's always a great meeting, and we appreciate that partnership. So if you just put that on your calendar, and we're preparing for that as we speak. And then just a reminder that we will meet at 6:30 at Gordon Street for our January meeting, and we will be recognizing and celebrating West Jackson Middle School. And for the record, I did speak to Dr. Conway. She's going to do a thorough but brief presentation because she's fully aware that I believe there's a national championship game that night. So we will make sure that we are we are efficient in our meeting on Monday so that folks can get out at a decent time. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask Ms. Dundor if she can give us a little bit of an update on some of the events taking place in teaching and learning and some phenomenal professional learning that's taken place.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Board members, I have attached for you our February and March professional learning schedule. This is just for your information to keep you in the loop of the work our teaching and learning team has been preparing. It is an exciting lineup. Speaking of championships, it is a championship professional learning opportunity in February and another one in March. But they've put a lot of time and energy into surveying our staff and taking a look at our data to determine our needs and our interests from our teachers, and then building around those needs and that data to provide for our K through 12 teachers professional learning opportunities. So this is the schedule for our February PL Day, and that's a System Professional Learning Day, and then again in March. And we are, you'll see some repeats, but there will be, think about it as level 1 class in February and level 2 class for those same teachers and learners in March. So that's included for your information.
All right, thank you, Fran. And I just want to make a comment at how much I appreciate the work of our teaching and learning department. We all recognize the fact that for a stint of time there, and quite frankly, it's rearing its head again, but we were hyper-focused on COVID, and it's so refreshing to see the core work become the primary work that you're doing. So thank you for sharing that. All right, Ms. Cameron, Ms. Todd, updates.
Sure. So you have your personnel recommendation. It is in draft form. I can tell you that we have processed a few additionals today that I will have for you on Monday, most of those being from our transportation department, and we definitely want to get those on as soon as possible. So if you will allow me to add those on Monday, I will have an updated report for you Monday. Our enrollment report is linked there for you, and as you can see, we have had some ups and downs, but we're still holding steady. And then the last thing for your consideration are some revisions to some job descriptions. And if at our last board meeting you approved the revised organizational chart for the teaching and learning department, and that included 2 director positions, that we just needed to revise those job descriptions to align with that new org chart. So the memo on the front just kind of walks you through. They were very minor revisions. We took some of those positions that were on the old chart, tweaked the title, and added a couple of things mostly focused on our literacy initiatives. So those revisions are highlighted in the memo, and then the job descriptions are there for your review. And our goal is for you to please approve those revisions so we can get to work on hiring some new teammates. And that is all from the HR world right now, if there's any questions. There are a couple of changes, yes ma'am. So on the one for the continuous improvement director, we added a responsibility to include professional learning leadership and research-based practices and literacy plan monitoring. So the previous job description did not address professional learning responsibilities or literacy plans, so we added that. And then the director of elementary education was previously just a coordinator position. So we retitled that and then added to that one more focused on our literacy initiatives, which wasn't included in the previous. Yes, ma'am. I think, and Ms. Dundor can speak a little bit to that from her department, but I think the accountability piece, you kind of. Yeah, go ahead.
We really just shortened the title. The accountability piece is embedded in the expectation for the job performance in terms of the responsibility that that director will have for working with principals for collecting and monitoring data for things like CCRPI. But we added a focus on research-based best instructional practices and supporting our principals through those, implementation in the school, as well as supporting those principals for creating fundamental literacy plans at each level and then monitoring that planning. So it is still, that director will still be accountable, but it was an intention of taking the focus off of just data collection to data collection for continuous improvement.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that update, Ms. Todd, and lots going on, believe it or not, in our facilities and operations. So I'm going to let I believe Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Patton together here.
Well, good evening, everyone. I thought it might be good if we went through several of these and then came back to the West Jackson community growth, just so we won't forget the other ones. But for your review is the monthly projects update. This is a financial report only. There was only one check written on behalf of one of the projects, and we're not at a point right now to give you lots of description and photos, but we will re-engage with that at the right time once we start the next project. On real estate updates, we good, Rusty? There we go. We've completed, thanks to Dr. Howard over the holiday and
Mr. Clarsey.
Mr. Clarsey and our representative, Matt McCord, we completed the Wayne Poultry Road purchase for a future operations site, remote operations. We completed the West Jackson primary property sale, which is fantastic. And the Gordon Street sale is under contract, earnest money in the bank, and due to close February 16th. Any questions on any of the property purchases and/or sales? If not, we included for your review an easement request from the city of Houston for public water. This is a 10-foot permanent easement and a 10-foot temporary construction easement along Highway 53, roughly all of our property between West Jackson Road and the end of our property, the school property. We've looked at this and we don't see any issues with it other than if they happen to encounter any of our utilities along the way, that they would repair those if damaged immediately and get us back into service. I think that was the only add to the easement that our attorney requested. So we will be recommending that. We don't see any reason that it would impact us.
And Ted, with the board's approval, that would be an action item Monday so that they can proceed with that installation. So thank you.
Good. Do you want to take the West, start with the growth? Or do you want me to? As you know, we've worked, and this is a day-to-day, moment-by-moment process that we've been through, not only on the facility side, but with the entire team you see here. We met Monday, I believe it was, a couple of times, and this is one of the, if not the highest priority, it's a really high priority for our district right now. Over the past months, and Dr. Howard, I'll go back to you. I think you may show something here. But over the last months, we've talked to you about several options of how we might deal with growth, and we are ready now to make a recommendation on that. Dr. Howard, do we want to show anything, or do we want to just talk through it?
We do have some information that we've already shared with the board, and I think the board would like to hear from our families this evening before we move forward and then potentially bring that recommendation forward after we get the feedback, and then the board has had a chance to really review all of that. The good news from a community perspective, in case you're not at the meeting this evening, is that there are more options on the table, and one that I think will be very feasible.
Right.
We do need to make sure that our board is in full agreement and understanding of what that commitment would be. The pricing came in higher as we expected, which is why we explored options, and at our last meeting, we looked at potentially using some space here or adding some space here. And just as a reminder, Empower is doing really great work, and one of our reservations about that all along was to not disrupt the culture and what we were trying to establish with Empower. In addition to that, we had gotten some previous feedback from our parents about how excited they were to be back in their community, and they'd probably prefer an interim solution or a permanent solution that was more closely aligned to their community. And so we went back, worked with our construction management team, really did some hard work over the holidays, and we're able to get a number that's probably attainable. But I want to give our board a time to really think through that and talk about it, and then hear back from our community members that are joining us this evening. So, Mr. Clarsey, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about that, or if you want to go any further with that.
I just want, we haven't had a chance to kind of talk face-to-face as board members. We've asked questions. We met yesterday, as you know, and we received feedback from staff. It appears that we're going to be in a good place from a funding standpoint, and as Dr. Howard said, I think it's important that we hear from our parent group tonight, because the last time Ms. Wheeler and I met with them, we were going in another direction, we felt, and then when we met last month at our board meeting, the indication we received from staff, we were going in another direction, so we just, we feel like that's where we're headed, is to the Skelton site, but we want to talk to them and then give our board opportunity to make sure they're comfortable with these numbers, with the projections Ms. Dodge has put together, and feel like we're in a good place. So,
Happy to share that SPOS if you want to, but it's up to you.
I'm happy to. It was informative to me, so I think we should. So, Anna, you did a real good job of explaining it to me. If you want to. You don't necessarily have to come up here, but
I would rather enjoy not having to come up there. I'm just kidding. So this is linked, and I think that you all can access this document. But when we initially started talking about this project and trying to determine what we could and could not do, what we could and could not afford, we were really just looking at SPLOST 5 monies, which we actually get our last collection from that in April of this year. And that had to do with timing and, when we thought we might be able to start the project. Well, now that we're starting it a little later and we're looking at the time frame being pushed out a little bit, we can now start considering and including SPLOST 6 receipts. So in doing that, when you look over the timeline for this project, with what we already have with SPLOST 5, some reimbursements that we're still due from the state for some of our other capital outlay projects, and then SPLOST 6 funds coming in also, it actually puts us in a good place to be able to afford this project. I will say, again, I think that we should really focus on this one big project right now and not try to stretch ourselves any further. But with the project and how it's been presented at this point, I feel like that we would definitely be in a good place to move forward with it.
I can send it to you. It's linked in the questions, but I'll send it to you right now.
Yes.
it was linked in.
But I feel like this and being able to see it kind of month by month for the next couple of years helps you see that. I think the lowest balance or projected balance we get to is about $5.6 million. So that still leaves us some funds in there for things that come up that are unexpected, but it also leaves us in a good place to make sure that this phase of this project can be finished and furnished and taken care of the way it needs to be taken care of.
So that was encouraging to me when I heard the balance at the end of the project was still in the 5 million plus range. That's in a good place. And then speaking with staff, we still feel like we have a good $1.5 million roughly. We'll know by late summer, early fall, kind of where that stands. So we really could be in a much better place. But the biggest thing is just knowing that we have a real good backstop was my concern. So I think you have the answers to some of our questions that we've passed around today. We'll give you an opportunity to allow that to settle, and then anything about the project that anyone wants to know, we can follow that up this evening, Monday night. We'll try and bring this to a resolution here pretty soon. Hopefully, maybe Monday, if at all possible. So, anybody have any questions? I know you need time to digest some of this, so we don't want to put anybody on the spot. But if you do have any, now would be the time. I think we have a few minutes before our next meeting. So.
And I hear and appreciate everything you're saying, Ms. Wheeler, and agree. And we do have an executive summary with a guaranteed maximum price that we could bring to you on Monday, but I also want to give you the weekend, or at least today and tomorrow, and some time to really analyze it and make sure everybody feels comfortable with it. Just as a sidebar, I think it's important, we did host a 7 a.m. and a 4 p.m. voluntary meeting for our teachers, because I always like to give our teachers an opportunity to have an idea of what we're going to be discussing, especially if it's going to impact them. And we got really, really positive feedback. And I wanted to acknowledge to them that we have walked through their buildings and we understand the conditions, and we've done the best that we can, but we're to a place that we're really going to have to do something. And if this is not the solution, we are going to need to go to the next solution, because we're going to be pushing it to do status quo next year for one more year. But we really, it's the numbers, even in enrollment, I'm sure Martha could speak to it, the numbers of kids that registered just this week. So we know it's coming. But I believe this staff is as conservative as you can be, and they're not going to lead us down a path that's going to put us in a position that we don't feel comfortable moving forward. So Anna has really analyzed this work, and I feel like we're in a really, really good place. It's exciting.
This still protects our position with the chamber and here, and I think that's important. And we committed to the turf field at East Jackson High School. I think that's a long time coming. That's very important to the folks over there, especially our winter sports that need the use of that facility. So.
And again, just to reiterate, this does not impact the general fund. I mean, there were some things that we had already discussed and already planned for and already budgeted to move out of SPLOST into the general fund to try to reserve SPLOST money for construction, but being able to do this project does not impact the general fund. There are no general fund monies being applied towards this project. Not additional faculty, because those will move with the students. Yes, you will need core building people, like your administrators and your support staff, yes. But that will all be handled when we do the budget and the budgeting process, so.
I think that's a.
It is general fund, but we've also got growth, we've also got a tax digest that's growing, and QBE funding that will also increase as our enrollment increases. So those two funding sources should handle, being able to staff at another building. Yeah, but honestly, because if the kids are here, they're here somewhere, and it's impacting staff. So we have to staff to instruct those students, but we also have to staff the buildings they're in now with additional support staff. So those can be all, a lot of that can be redistributed based on where the students go and where the needs are. But yes, there will be some additional staff needs, but not anything that I feel like will be detrimental to the general fund.
Well, I think just to kind of tack on to what Mr. Hollett is saying, we're on the same page from this perspective, and our concern about the growth in the digest, and are not interested in raising the millage. I've said that privately, and I'm saying it publicly. So I think that march we've always had, I'll say this, as long as I've been on this board, and Ms. Wheeler's been on it the longest of all of us here, I believe that March planning time that we've had, the 3 times that I've been a part of it, I found it to be useful and beneficial and a good opportunity to discuss exactly what Mr. Hollett is asking, and we can look at that, because this is real, and it's going to give us a little bit of time to plan, but we do feel like our digest is going to continue to grow this year into next year, because the digest was set on January 1, so as it was on January 1 is what it's going to be when they send out the bills later this year. So we're in a pretty good place. So we should, but your point is well taken, Bo, and I mean that. We really need to kind of look at that.
I want to thank the board for being willing to entertain this. We really do want to do what's best for kids, and I know Mr. Hollett does too. Nobody thinks that anybody doesn't want what's best for kids. We all want what's best for kids, but just in reflecting, temporary solutions are just that, and that money's gone once it's gone. We really said, okay, if we can do a permanent investment that helps us long-term in that community, how can we make that happen? So that's what brought us back to going back and sharpening the pencil and really trying to find a way. So we'll revisit this and look forward to hearing from our families this evening, and I think that will be insightful as well. So I hope they come. I got 22 RSVPs, and the weather's not helping. I'm getting a couple of emails right now if I'm not going to make it, but we will definitely talk to those that are here. So with that in mind, speaking of Anna, why don't you just keep on rolling, because your next bit, oh, wait,
Actually,
no,
there's one
we
other.
got to stop. I missed that. I was skipping. This is a big deal. Mr. Thomason, this is a really big deal. So can you share with us the RFP results from the wireless equipment? And we had talked about this before.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. In the November board meeting, the board approved our request to post an RFP to replace the rest of our wireless access point equipment throughout the system. We posted that RFP and we got one response, and it came in on time. Everything looked good. Quality vendor that we've worked with before. We'd like to ask the board to approve that vendor as the winning bidder. in the amount of $364,504.20. And that will replace the rest of our wireless throughout the system and allow us to get those up to speed, all on the same model, all on the same technology, and allow us to start securing the system a little more.
So this would be an action item Monday as well, if the board so approves?
ma'am.
So
We'd
it's
like-
written in the
we'd like
form
to
of
ask
an
that.
executive summary, and we appreciate your work on that, Mr. Thomas. I know we had replaced some of them, and we knew that
Yes,
we were
ma'am.
going to have to come back and finish.
What was that dollar value again?
364, it's on top of page 2.
Yes.
I guess here, no questions. We'll have it on the agenda for Monday for action.
Thank you.
All right, now, Anna, share your updates, please.
Yes, I'm just loving this microphone tonight. Oof. So financials look great. We are in a very good place on both sides, the general fund and SPLOST. If you, we'll start with SPLOST first, and as you can see, our collections for November were our highest ever, $1,067,000, and that was for November. If you look up a little bit, our last $1 million plus collection was actually for December. The last $1 million plus deposit was for December collections. So I'm anticipating that that next month's could be another $1 million collection. So SPLOST is looking great. It continues to be up above $900,000 each month, and it's trending in a really good way. And then if you want to look at general fund, that hopefully also will give you a little peace of mind as far as where we are on the general fund side. We ended this month, or the month of December, with over $40 million in fund balance. Granted, again, this is the last couple of months are the months that we collect our property taxes, so it's always a little bit higher, and then as we go throughout the year, we start using up some of that tax revenue that's come in. But I do expect that we will end the year well over $20 million. And then if you want to look at the budget to actual for general fund, we are under $5 million within collecting everything that we have budgeted for our property taxes, which is amazing at this point in the year. Our tax commissioner does a great job with getting those funds into us. And I think we're at about 65% total revenue collections, and we're at 50% of the year, so that's looking great, and we are right in line with our expenses. Being at 50% of the year completed, we are right at 50% of expenses to budget. So everything is right in line, and it's helping us look good again for another good end to the year.
All right, thank you. That's good. Go ahead.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I do want to mention that that does include us already having paid for some of those expenses that we moved out of SPLOST into general fund. So
Leased.
those things, several of those big ticket items have actually already been paid, and so that's already taken into account with that ending fund balance. So it's good, yes.
Primary categories that we moved were the bus lease and technology expenditures. Those were for the most part,
Some of the maintenance, some of the
maintenance and
painting
operation needs.
and resurfacing of parking lots and stuff like that. But most of that we've moved into the general fund, and it's handling it very well, so.
So that's all the updates, and that gives the board a little time if you would like to discuss anything you want to discuss. Otherwise, we can take a short break, and our families are not due in until 7. So unless there's any questions from the board or any additional information from the staff, that's all we have.
So if tonight's meeting was 30 minutes, Monday night's meeting is 3 minutes or 15? We're here to do business, so I'm just making making light. I know you are. I'm trying not to think about that game Monday night. Think about it too much. I really don't want to think about it. So, at any rate, we'll stand adjourned.